Hey, Haribo.
Hey, well, how are you?
Yeah, good. How are you?
Good, man.
Yeah, it's good to see you. Thank you so much for doing this again.
Pleasure. It was fun.
Yeah. How's the day? How's your day been so far?
Good. Saturday. I mean, pandemic's weird because
Yeah.
there's so much tragedy going on around us, and everyone's freaking out. For me, I spend most of my life traveling,
Wow.
and for me, it's been incredibly useful to sort of ground with my family, ground with my wife, with my kids, with my home, with our farm. Just
Mm,
get my head together, do a lot of writing, stuff I never get to do. For me,
right.
it's been a blessing. I'm not sure if it's because I've got a good attitude, or I'm not sure if it's just the
I
situation, or maybe it's because I'm not sick.
think it's probably a combination of both. What have you been
Uh,
writing recently?
what's that?
What have you been writing recently? You mentioned you were writing.
Oh, I'm writing a book on the 6 pillars of Bhakti yoga.
Wow.
It's just my yeah. It's a sort of very approachable way to understand like these essential teachings of Bhakti that are useful
Mm,
in successful material life as well as successful spiritual life.
wow.
Um, and
Any sneak peeks you can give us on any principles that are really kind of touching or that are
well,
really inspiring you at the moment?
um, I'll share them with you because they're useful and you can take them and use them as you like. But
Awesome.
the first one is I will not criticize.
Wow.
Super
I'm
powerful
gonna take notes
uh,
today.
pillar. Super powerful pillar. There's a tendency within my own shortcomings to find fault outside. So
Right.
I'm either doing it out of my own insecurity, and or I'm doing it to create a smoke screen so I don't have to look about what's actually wrong with me. So sometimes we just get, we're teenagers, we're belligerent, we're sarcastic, we're rude. I get that. And then sometimes we'll say, well, you know what? I can speak for mine. That's how I grew up. I grew up,
Mm, I'm
you
pretty
know,
much the same.
rude, sarcastic, and cruel and funny. And it didn't serve me well. As I went along my spiritual path, I didn't want that incarnation of myself to exist. So at a certain point, I said, well, I don't want to be just rude to people that I care about. I'm just going to find problems that are going on with the world. And
Mm,
there's a lot of problems out there. The biggest problem I found with that is because when you start to get into a lot of this really serious social justice, it creates a smokescreen for me doing my own internal work.
I was just about to say, yeah.
It creates a big smokescreen because the enemy is out there. And what it
Mm,
also does is it creates this type of, I call it stinking thinking, where you're actually going out to find what is wrong. And you're sniffing out, it's training your brain. What is wrong? What is wrong? What is wrong? What is wrong with him? What is wrong with them? And it always puts you like on an attack. And in Bhakti, we have a sweeter principle. It is what is right? What is right? I'm talking to Radhika. What is right with Radhika?
mm.
Like if I don't know you, the first time I think, this guy's younger than me. He's successful. He's better looking. What is wrong with him? Right?
Yeah,
And
right.
there's got to be something wrong because that will give me my up in my relation because I never want to feel like I got something
Inferior.
under him. I want to be superior to this person. So in Bhakti, instead, we're trying to find what is right with people. How
Mm,
are people wonderful? How are they great? And the beautiful thing is, oftentimes, if we are one of these people who care about justice and care about, in a peaceful, loving environment, then if you really want change, then the great teachers, great masters, great parents, great friends, they see the person in their perfected state. You see them in their perfected state and you treat them like that. And you know what happens? The people rise out of their old incarnation.
wow.
We don't like to judge people by the way they were. No one likes that feeling of disempowerment. We go home on the holidays and we're hearing it from our older brother, older sister, or mother or father, and they're like holding us to something we were like 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. It's so disempowering. That's why a lot of times adults don't like to go home for the holidays because they've changed, yet they're held to some like dynamic that existed 40 years ago.
Right.
And
In a
so,
vacuum.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we don't like to judge people by their past. We don't like to hold them to what they were. We don't even like to hold them to what they're presently doing. We train our vision to see some incredible potential in that person, and we hold them in that space. And what it does, it allows them, I mean, it allows them to step out of that incarnation in the same way that caterpillar steps into the butterfly. I don't want to hold them as, yeah, you're just a caterpillar. I know you're past. No, no, no. And to the degree that I treat a person like this, and you've probably had people like this in your life already, where they see something great in you that you can barely see in yourself. And that person becomes your best friend. That becomes your act. That's what real friendship is. A person lifts you up to something higher than you can't even see in yourself, and they allow you to escape that old incarnation that you yourself are holding yourself to. So it's very powerful, and it's very transforming, is stopping the criticism of what's out. And the sister pillar to that is finding greatness in people, sharing it with them, appreciating.
Now, how does that kind of compare with like being fake with someone just to see the greatness, just to kind of artificially see it? Is the benefit still there the same? Or does it have to be, and how can we train ourselves to be more genuine when we're giving praise?
That's a good question. You know, oftentimes it's a practice. If you're used to criticizing on a regular basis, I mean, you got to understand, and I can fully understand. I fully get this because I really was like this. Someone comes in the door, you size them up. Who is this asshole? You know, they're wearing a shirt you don't like. Who she thinks she is? Right? We judge people by their clothing, by their face, by their ethnicity sometimes, by their height, by their shortness. It's like so pathetic what we've done, that I can speak for what I've done, that I get to a certain point, I don't want to be this person. I don't want to be this person. That when someone, by just a mere appearance of making that judgment. So we don't have to be fake. It's if you were had any similar situations like that where you did it to somebody, then you can relate to this, that we can just work on ourselves, and it's a practice. Because guess what? Finding problems with people because of the way they look, because of the size of their ears or their eyes or their hair or whatever, that's a practice. The more you practice it, the better you become at insulting, criticism, finding shortcomings, finding their fault. It's a practice that you get expert at. They don't have to do anything. They walk in the room. Who is this jackass? And you can give a whole list of, I mean, come on, people do it all the time. They pick up a tabloid and say, "Who is Britney Spears? What a fool! What a fool!" You don't know? Do you know Britney Spears? You know, it's like one of those things that people will just do it. And you know what's the problem with it is? It creates like a deep lead covering of the heart.
Yeah.
Because God's in everybody's hearts. Everybody's actually a pure spirit soul. And there's like an altar in everybody's heart, even the people that drive you nuts. And they're all special. And we should never speak criticism because it creates this critical mind, creates that stinking thinking. And also, this is part of it, we should never hear it. I don't want to hear people criticizing other people. And I train all my students too. Don't tolerate it. Walk away from it. Plug your ears. It's like eating junk food. It's like junk thoughts. Hearing criticism of other beings. I'm not interested in it. Be it in politics, be it in social circles, be it in spiritual circles. Matter of fact, if I hear people say they practice Bhakti, but I hear them criticizing other people practicing Bhakti, I think, did you guys miss a couple grades in Bhakti school? I think you got to go back to kindergarten Bhakti school. Once you start getting on the internet or and doing this like call out culture on the internet where you're just, you got to be incredibly careful. I don't care how many rounds you chant 64 rounds and Kartik, or go to all the kirtans you want. If you're critical of other people and you indulge in it, even in the name of your justice, you want some justice, I got some news for you. You could be creating incredible lifetimes of bad karma, bad choices. Why? Because everybody's dear to God. Krishna makes it very clear in the ninth chapter. When sadhus do screw up, they shouldn't be called out, right? People who are practicing bhakti, we're endeavoring to be sadhus. We're endeavoring to be holy people. And you know what? We have a lot of bad habits. And so we have to get over that. We have to get over our own bad habits. And we have to get over projecting what we see fault in other people. Because what happens is, as Krishna says, this is such a small lifetime, I'll resurrect them immediately. You know, and who am I to say, well, they're not sincere? How do you know? How do you know people aren't sincere? I think it's safe to give people the benefit of the doubt. I don't have to be the judge and the jury. Who am I? I got my own problem. See, again, it's creating a smokescreen for my own problems.
Right.
That's
We're just training ourselves to hate the sin, not the sinner, trying to take the person out of the problem. It's the problem that we should be trying to deal with and understand that that problem is the dirt and rather than the person.
Sure.
But you
and
know what?
I'm
It tastes so good,
just
though.
Accept everybody and love everybody.
Yeah, right.
Because we need discernment all the time.
Right.
And sometimes in the yoga community, you can forget about that. We just say, yeah, just forgive. Don't judge. No, don't condemn. But you have to discern. You know, there's some yoga teacher. He does some nefarious thing with a bunch of students. And I say, hey, man, that's crazy. Hey, don't judge. Well, all right, but what about, he's still going to be your teacher? He did all these horrible things.
Right.
Why are you so judgmental? Well, what do you ask me, to turn off my intelligence? Give me a break. If you want to make advancement in spiritual life, okay, we don't like this judge word. We've thrown it around too much. We shouldn't. What we mean to say is we shouldn't condemn people. That doesn't mean we say this person did something wrong. It was reprehensible. It was completely inappropriate. They were in a position of leadership, of authority. They were my teacher, my professor, my parent. That should be noted. And then you could walk away from that relationship. But in the name of not judging, people don't want to say anything. So it's important to discern. But that doesn't mean I'm going to condemn them. That's what we mean by judging. That's what you actually mean when you say don't judge. It means we don't want to condemn them, meaning suppose I do something horrible. That should be understood. I try to explain what are appropriate rules in practicing in leadership and in practicing yoga and being a teacher. And then if I train my students also to, like, that's wrong. If I do something that's wrong, you can say, hey, man, that is wrong what you did. You know, and then the teacher or that leader has the right to, it doesn't matter if it's a teacher or not, it could be your child. Right. They have the right to change themselves. We don't want to hold them to what they were. They have the right to change themselves. We want them to change. We don't want to, if someone screws up, I shouldn't be like, aha, I knew it. You're always a fake. That's the problem. That's Maya or illusion, just trying to trick you to hate again. Right. This is the problem. Whenever I'm trying to point my finger at something out there, I'm training myself to hate again. And we can't do that. In Bhakti Yoga, we train ourselves to love again. That's the difference. And so anyway, I mean, even with a child, if a child lies, you can't say, you are a liar. They're not a liar. They're acting like a liar. There's a difference. One's a condemnation, and one gives them an out, right? You're acting like a liar. That's why there's beauty in all these ancient cultures, including India, that has these great epics of archetypes. The evil one, the licentious one, the cruel one. You're acting like Duryodhan. You're acting like Ravana. Like being the key word there. Yeah, it's a key word because it doesn't condemn them to something. Does that make sense? Totally. I mean, it's something that we all do, but maybe it's unconscious that you don't realize that you're condemning something to, you know, this person is a liar, bar none, always a liar, you know, will be a liar, always a liar. But trying to get into the zone of this person committed something. And I think it's very interesting when it comes to spiritual circles, because especially, you know, we see it all over the world, but I can also see it perhaps in the Bhakti circles where people condemn people because of an act. You do one thing, you could do like 1,000,000 years worth of seva service and then, you know, come and do one act and then you're condemned for the rest of your life. But I think this discernment that you're speaking about, that's an interesting point, because I think it's something that's quite subjective, that some people will, you know, say that this is wrong, this is right. And then how do you kind of decide whether something is actually right or wrong? Is it not just a bunch of opinions then? Well, I think there's some big obvious ones. Yeah. Human trafficking, bad. Rape, bad.
Mm.
Reckless violence, bad. So I think there are shades of gray, of course, but there's definitely some leaning towards evil and leaning towards light. You know what I mean? I can't say it's all good and it's all whatever you make it. It's not. There's definitely some things. And when people say things like that, I'm like, really? You're going to run with that one? You're going to run like it's all good according to whatever you believe? Really?
Right.
So Mother and Teresa and Joseph Stalin, they're the same to you. No, there's definitely good. I think it's important to point out, just like you're to point out to a child sometimes. And this is the nice thing about the Gita. Krishna points it right out, almost as if we're children. In the Bhagavad Gita, he'll say, these qualities are divine. These qualities, they're demonic. And then when you read that chapter, I don't know if you've been like that because you're not such a dented can like me. I start going, oh, wait a second. I've got a lot of these demonic ones going on in me. And
we all see it.
But it's almost like you tell a child, though, never cross the road. But the mailbox is across the road. Never cross the road unless you're with dad, okay? That's just the rule. And so does that mean as he grows, he should never cross the road? No, of course he should cross the road. But in this stage of his life, you should understand this is an absolute rule. So Krishna lays it down very simply in very distinct terms, what is good and what is bad. But as we grow in our bhakti too, we should also understand, of course, there's going to be shades of gray. That's just part of life. But we need to learn certain basic values first. But if there's some shade of gray, that's when you consult with other people that you trust their integrity, your teachers or your friends that you feel have a lot of integrity.
Totally. I mean, it makes sense to seek for guidance, but then these gray areas, there can be so many interesting scenarios. I can remember even as a child, or not child, but teenager, people coming up to me, and I was a vegetarian my whole life. And at that time, it wasn't cool to be vegetarian, or it wasn't cool to be vegan. And so they kind of go around the whole thing by saying, oh, what if it was, a deserted island, you're on your own, and, there's nothing to eat, blah, blah, blah. Would you compromise your principles then? And all these great scenarios where...
Well, I think, you know what? I think it's okay to have those fantastic scenarios, but there's also, we're not on an island right now, and of course, we're not going to paint ourselves in a box. I was actually talking about this on the podcast this morning. My plug for Wisdom of the Sages, our podcast.
Everyone check it out. You must check it out.
John V. Harrison's on tomorrow. We're doing
an interview there. Wicked.
But the idea was brought up of extreme situations. And it's like, you know what? Extreme situations are extreme. That doesn't mean that there shouldn't be some general principles. And someone asked the question, well, what about hunting? If I hunt, there's an overpopulation of deer because we've killed all the predators. There's no panthers. There's no wolves. And there's an overpopulation of deer. And it's a healthy way to get meat. And I said, listen, we are in a reactionary world right now where we've created animals to be commodities, just things. They're depersonalized. And it's almost creating a sociopath's mind. Like in one sense, my cat has a name and I'll give it a bath and I'll carry it with me. And I'll carry my dog on my lap in the plane. And I'll even get a fine, if not imprisonment, if I leave my dog in the car with the windows up. In some states in America, you can go to jail for that. Yet this other animal, which is not much different, even biologically, this one is a thing. This one is soulless. This one is a commodity that can be bought and sold, and I can do basically whatever I want to it. Right. And so what it does is sort of creates the brain of a sociopath, where you have to be, everything is nice over here, and here everything is actually almost, you're acting criminal. In the same way if I was to do it to a human. Or I treat you with love, and then I go murder a child. And then I act like, then I have tea, and like nothing happened. And so this is the problem with what we've done with an animal industry is we've depersonalized, like we've taken the personhood. And if you have more than 2 cats or more than 2 dogs, you know that each one of these animals, even if they're the same breed, they're unique persons. They're individual entities which have personality and character. And you got the sleepy cat, the happy cat, the kooky cat. It's just part of having unique personality. It's not just like they all act the same. No, they're unique beings. And it's not like that with just animals. It's like that with plants as well. And we just don't notice them as much because they're not like jumping on our lap and licking our face. So our idea and our principle in Bhakti is you're not going to stop suffering from the world. All you have to do is sit on an anthill and watch the ant colony kill. They'll go out and they'll kill bees and kill everything is killing everything. That's, you know, I live in a farm. All I have to do is sit by the pond and I will watch all these aphids come out, and all of a sudden out of nowhere you'll see dragonflies. They'll just manifest. I don't know where they come from. Then the dragonflies will land in the pond. All of a sudden, boom, the frogs come out. And then the snake comes out. And it's like everything is murdering everything. That's just part of being, you don't see it sometimes in New York or in the cities, but that is just what nature does. So the question is, am I just going to start going out and killing? And so in Vedic culture or any type of spiritual culture, it is, how can I pull back? How can I become civilized, ethical, moral? And so that means I pull back the urges of my tongue, of my belly, of my genitals. I harness them. Otherwise, what happens is they harness me. That's called slavery within the body. Like your body tells you, I want her, I want him, I want it, and I want to eat that. And sometimes I've even heard people say, like, yeah, I would be a vegetarian. I just love animals too much.
That makes no sense.
Well, I know you don't actually love it, right? Or let's just say something like, I love the taste too much. I was like, well, then you're just going to kill it because you love the taste? I mean, come on. I mean, I love to, I just like to win fights, so I just fight a bunch of children. What kind of like logic is that? Yeah,
Moses Clough's written, aren't we committing violence to plants, trees, fruit, and vegetables?
Sure you are. Sure you are. I mean, it's minimized, though. It's minimized, right? You can eat a leaf of right now me and my kids are growing romaine lettuce. Why? Because we chopped the lettuce down at the root, and then we planted the romaine hearts, and they grow back. So we didn't have to kill it, but we got to eat the leaves. There's a lot of leaves you can do that with. There's a lot of fruits you can take from the trees. There's a lot of berries you can cut back, and it enhances their growth. At the same time, once you're eating root vegetables or sprouts, you're killing the plant. Matter of fact, if anyone's got a lawn and you're on a lawnmower, or you have a garden and you're digging in your garden, things are going to die. Matter of fact, just to manufacture soy milk, which everybody loves, or killing. I mean, if you're doing it in a big factory farm, which most people are getting their soy milk from a massive farm. They have farming machinery, reapers that are just killing any type of rodents or that are living there. It just happens. Once you live, you kill, and you can't avoid it, but you can minimize it. And it's good to be sensitive to it, and you shouldn't beat yourself up to it, but it's good to minimize it. And so it's what we do with all our senses. We try to minimize, but there's never going to be that perfect ideal, because you could always find something wrong, because once you exist, we're creating pain just to exist. So the yogis say you minimize it, and you start to work for higher principles. And that's why we're not condemning people. We're not trying to be animal rights activists that are condemning the world.
Right.
We're actually just trying to encourage people to live a bit more integrated life. Eventually, there will be more respect towards the animals like that. And I'd rather see a person, if he's going to hunt, I don't want to hunt, even if there is a deer overpopulation, because it's not good for my consciousness. It's just not good for my consciousness. I'm trying to train myself to be like a transcendentalist, to be a little bit compassionate. But who knows? If I was put in an extreme situation, the best I can do is to minimize.
Yeah, I mean, it's like even about this, what you were saying about kind of the gray areas, not boxing yourself into just saying, violence means always violent, or killing means killing in all situations. But minimizing, your consumption of even things like soy milk could help. But then, look, the principle then is, how do we even live if it's a case of, how do you know how much minimization you should be doing? What is the limit? Where's the line, etc.?
I think people at least on this path, I find that I find in my own life, I want to live simpler.
Mm,
It's not like my stuff. There's, our stuff isn't going to make us happy.
mm,
You know what I mean? And I find that to most degrees that people are getting serious on this path, they minimize stuff. We don't need so much
mm,
stuff. I live on a big property because we do programs here. It was like a retreat center. But
right.
truthfully, because of the pandemic, we're not doing so much stuff. I'm like, man, all I need is a tiny house. I don't need a big house. I just need some. I like land to walk around on. I don't need to own the land. Like, and I was a monk, and I think this was the beauty of having that time to be a monk. And not a lot of people get that time. I was blessed that I chose that in my 20s.
Wow.
But you learn how to be joyful with nothing, and that, my friend, is the greatest dance you can learn to dance. How can I
Right.
have absolutely nothing? And I first went to India, and India in the 80s had nothing. You had nothing. You had no heat. You had no cold. It was just like sweltering hot in the summer. It was freezing cold in the winter. There was no central heat. We slept on the floor. We had these jailhouse showers. It was like, it was horrific.
Shocking.
It was shocking. Plus, I'm an American, and I'm American with an ego, and I'm intolerant as it is.
Brits have
And
egos too,
I
don't
have to
worry.
learn, a whole nother, it's one thing to learn a yoga class. It's another thing to like learn how to wear underwear like the Brahmins wore. Like I gotta wear a G-string now, and I gotta wear like Tarzan, then I gotta tie this elaborate robe on, and then I gotta, mark my body. And it's like, and shape. It's like I gotta learn all this stuff. And so anyway, it was very difficult.
I can imagine.
And so it was the biggest, I think, thing I realized was like, there's a bunch of other people doing it here,
Mm,
and they've got nothing. I mean, like, where do we get our pleasure from anyway? We go out to dinner. That's our pleasure, right? We're
right.
hanging out late. We go to a pub. That's fun. We buy things, right? What are you doing when you're a monk? There's nothing to buy. What's there to buy? You're not going to the pub. You're not going to the movies. Right? We're not going to restaurants. You're going to bed at 8:30, like the time that like little children are going to bed. You're waking up ridiculously early. I like to wake up at 2:30 or 3 back then, and that would give me a time like an hour and a half of meditation before the morning services.
Mm,
It's like, how much more unfun? And according to Freud, the greatest pleasure in the world is sex. It's what makes the world go round. It's the reason why we're going to the gym and working out and combing our hair and going to the beautician and shaving and not shaving and growing a beard and not growing a beard, curling my mustache. That is what's actually making the world go round. And we're not doing that. Then what the hell are we supposed to do? That's the interesting thing. And so you get to this point, and I've noticed this with monks, two things happen. One, they just lose it, and they realize, I can't be happy here.
right.
I have to get out of here. I've got these habits I'm into. I don't like waking up early. I like having, sex with random partners,
Mm,
or I want just any sex. And I like my hair. I don't want to cut. It's a lot of people don't. I'm not cutting my hair. I love my hair. My hair is my identity. They just won't do it. And so I've seen so many monks they start off monks like, I'm not doing this. But then you meet the monks who just get deep, and they become incredibly joyful. And what happens is you realize their joy is not coming from the ego anymore. Their joy is
mm,
coming from something subtle. It's not coming from their stuff or their property or their car or their hair or their beard or their lack of whatever. And they don't even have position. It's not even coming from some because they're a leader and that's why, and a lot of people respect me. They're like peons.
right.
Some of the most evolved people I've seen were not great gurus or swamis. They were in the material world, we'd call them losers. But in the spiritual world, you say, these guys are evolved.
Wow.
Or women, they're evolved. I remember one time I was traveling with my band, and my band was a bunch of, I don't know if you know my backstory, but I was
Yeah, yeah.
I was in a band, and we were touring through Europe. And I remember one of the best memories I had was, it's exhausting being in a band. And when you're a monk, it's like double exhausting because you're trying to follow some spiritual regulation, and you're going to bed at 2 a.m. And I wanted to stay at this time at temples, wherever I traveled, to stay at ashrams. So
That's
there was an
amazing.
ashram in Vienna, and we played in Vienna that night. We got in like at 1 a.m, and the person who ran the temple was a monk, and he said, listen, you can stay here. We have a room for you. Let us feed you. And he said, what do you need more than anything right now? What can we do to take care of you? I said, I don't know. And he goes, I bet I know. I bet you've been traveling nonstop and your clothes are a mess. And I was like, you know what? We play a show, we sweat, we try to rinse them out in the sink. We have no time to watch. You're exactly right. Our clothes are a mess. He goes, bring in all your luggage in here. We're going to wash all your clothes. I was like, well, we have to,
Wow.
I said, well, we have to leave like at 7:30 in the morning because we're driving to, the Netherlands. And they're like, bring all your clothes here. We're going to get them all done for
Wow.
you. And the most sweetest, humblest, and evolved monks just stayed up all night long through the night and washed all our clothes, folded all our clothes, made us like care packages of food to take with us. I was
That's
like,
phenomenal.
who are these people? Imagine if I put that out in a job resume. Okay, you're gonna have to spend all night. You're gonna have to wash clothes for traveling rock stars, and you're gonna you're gonna have to make them food before they. Who would even get paid and do that type of job? Like nobody. Yet they're doing it with so much bliss and so much joy and so much appreciative heart. It's like it is so beautiful. And these are actually inspired. That this is what inspires me in Bhakti yoga. When I see
Mm.
people with that heart of love, and I think that's what I want. And there's no money that I can purchase. They don't want my money. They don't need any money I have. They don't need anything from me. They have it. So can I find that joy with nothing? And that's a
Mm.
cool thing to know. Now, I'm not recommending everybody give up everything to find happiness. You can also do it with stuff. But
Mm.
once you develop attachment to that stuff, we should understand that stuff will be taken away from us anyway. And
Is
that's
it
not permanent stuff.
is it inevitable though when you own stuff to be attached to it?
Well, it depends. Think it depends on you,
Mm.
on you, and if you do, it's okay. It's
Mm.
just sort of like you got to bend or it breaks. You know what I mean? It's like there is a here's my option in the material world. You can't keep anything. So that's the first statement. You can't keep anything. So now what's going to happen is the material world is going to start plucking out of everything from your hands, everything out of your hands. I use the example of they have in gardening. I don't know if you garden. They have these things called loppers.
Yep.
Loppers are like they just chop saplings and use it to chop up bushes. So the
Hmm.
material world acts like these loppers, and they just start taking things away from you. In the same way, a gardener just comes and he trims away the rose bushes, the berries, the lavender, or the lilacs. And you're supposed to lop because it enhances the growth of the flower, of the
Right.
berry, of the fruit, of the leaves. Um, so what happens is the material world's going to do that to us. It's just going to start lopping.
Mm.
And I've seen it happen in my own life. I'm looking in the mirror and I'm noticing my youth has been lopped. Like I no longer look attractive like a child when I was 20 years old. It's like my youth has been lopped. My hair has been lopped from my head. I'm bald. I can't grow my thick hair out if I wanted to, right?
Mm.
What else has been lopped? Well, I've had times in my life where money has been taken. We've lost money. Sometimes in an economic crisis, people have lost everything. I've lost a house in my life. I've lost a car in my life, right?
Wow.
Sometimes we've lost a loved one in our life.
Yeah.
Sometimes we live a child, a parent. So whether we want to or not, we get things ripped out of our hands. That's not a Hindu speaking. That is not a Krishna monk speaking. That is any thoughtful person.
Mm.
Once you have something, get ready. You're about to lose it. And how do you lose it? It gets taken away. You lose it. I had so many students who lost their homes in hurricanes over the years. I've had friends who lost people with this pandemic that they've loved. That is just the nature of the material world. It's like built out of sand, like in a sandcastle. So I can react in two ways. I can see everything as a blessing that Krishna, God, my higher power, is trying to make me rely solely on him. for my edification, for my purification, that there is no other shelter in this world. There's no car that will make me feel like I'm whole, or there's no beautiful woman in my arms that will make me feel, like I'm a whole person. No amount of kids that I will feel now I've got my life together. That doesn't mean I don't have a wife and kids and I love them. It just means I understand I don't possess them, and they're not what makes me a whole person. There's a God-shaped hole in my heart. And the only thing that fits in there is God. That has to be filled with God. If I put anything else to try to find connection in there, it won't work. And so there's really two options. One is I become bitter at the world as I grow old, as I lose my things, as things get taken out of away from me. I become bitter, or I start to understand I'm being completely lured into the spiritual world right now. Wow. That there's no other shelter in this world. And that's why it's important on a regular basis to hear spiritual truth. And that's why there's what the great yogis called a sadhana. A sadhana is where we have a regular spiritual practice. And when I say regular, we do it every day. It's not like on Sunday is spiritual day and every day else is crazy day. It's like on a regular basis, I have to hear truth. Why? It keeps my freaking car on the track. Otherwise, I'm going to go right off the cliff. That's how I drive. I'm a little reckless. A lot of us are not like perfect, falling from the heavens. A lot of us are a bunch of dented cans. We've done some crazy stuff. So I have to retrain my brain to think properly, act properly, speak properly, move in this world where it's going to enhance my growth instead of crippling me.
Beautiful. You made this beautiful point about having a God-shaped hole in the heart. And I know that you've got to go very soon, but I wanted to see if I could get another cheeky question in there.
Sure, brother.
How to fill that God-shaped hole. And I want to hear not a generic thing, but something that you feel really is something that everyone should just practice today, something that everyone should just sit down or stand up or whatever it is, but just make it a point that this is something I want to do today to try and fill that vacuum.
Sure. One nice thing is keep a list. You can use your phone. Keep a list of incredible people in your life. Write them down. And right next to their name, write a few wonderful things about these people. Keep a list of them. And when you have a real thorough list, I like Radhika because Radhika is thoughtful and caring and loving and stuff like that. And when you have that list, start doing 2.0 version. That's the easy part of it. The second part of it is write list of people who are driving you crazy. And start to write down why these people are a blessing in your life. Now that's hard. And it's a hard practice because usually my mind is trained to those who like me and who stroke my ego. They're my friends. Oh, my ex-husband, my ex-wife, my miserable teenager, whatever it is. These guys are my enemies. It's a good practice to get off the petty material platform. We start training the vision to see how there's greatness and how this person is also sent to me, how this apparent miserable situation was sent for me. And this helps to the degree that you start to really imbibe truth on a regular basis. Your vision becomes more, almost like you start to fine tune that lens.
Yeah.
And that's what helps. To the degree that I have spiritual truth in my life on a regular basis. And that's the practice of the yogis. Every morning we're reading or meditating. And what happens is when these tragedies come up, we see them with a new set of lenses. And even the people that are not here to stroke my ego, but apparently even cause me pain, we see, oh my God, this is a blessing for me too. Beautiful. It's hard to do. And that's where we get this word samadhi. I'm not teaching you because you know a lot already, but just if people are listening, they don't know this. This word samadhi comes from the English word same. Or just the opposite. The English word same comes from the word samadhi. Sama means like it's like an American narrative of the world, right? It all comes from America. But we get a lot of Sanskrit words. Door. Door is Sanskrit. You know what's a Sanskrit word? Punch.
Why isn't I punching someone?
Yeah, like punch someone in the face. It comes from, like ek do teen char punch. How would you like? I'm serious. They got that from the British going to India. How'd you like punch in the nose? How'd you like 5 in the nose?
Ah, I didn't know that.
Didn't know that? You're from England?
I mean, I'm from England. I still didn't know that.
Yeah. But also like the word door. Like
Mm-hmm.
Haridwar means like the doorway
Why?
to the Lord, or the Haridwar, the gateway to Lord Shiva. But this word sam or samadhi is
Mm-hmm.
sort of like, it's a very powerful word because it means whatever the world is throwing at me, I see it as the same.
Mm.
You know, these great friends in my life, yeah, they're great because they're encouraging me in my spiritual life. But this person that's causing me pain in my life, this person, I'm also seeing some divine plan working through this being for my benefit. In this, it's like the opposite of being paranoid. Paranoid means, oh man, Radhika, why did he want me on this thing? He probably going to make a fool out of me. What, you know, I'm think everybody's out to get me. We're working like the opposite of paranoid. Like everything is conspiring for my evolution.
Wow.
The whole world, every person I've met, right? Every person I've met, that great marriage that I'm in, or that horrible marriage that I was in, everything is conspiring for my evolution. And it's the exact way that is taught in the Bhagavatam when Vidura is asked to quit the Kuru dynasty. And he had every reason to be resentful, to be angry, right? If we know the story, Dhritarashtra kicks him out of the kingdom. It's like, I've been your loyal brother all these years. He didn't say that. He went inside, internal, and said, you know what? It's time for me to go on pilgrimage. This is a divine hand that's using Dhritarashtra for my benefit. So I don't even have problems with Dhritarashtra, meaning I don't have problems with a person who's even perpetrating, because I see a divine hand. It means nothing happens to me, it all happens for me. It's basically that.
Wow.
And it's powerful. And you can't just really say that unless you understand the eternality of the soul, right? Because if you say nothing happens to me, it all happens for me. Oh yeah, well, why am I dying? I have 3 children. But we understand our life in a very, very big, vast picture, not even my life as just Raghunath. That is just like a thin, tiny little vantage point of who I am.
I mean, that's phenomenal. Nothing happens to me, it happens for me. I mean, guys, I've made crazy amounts of notes here because this is blowing my mind here. But if you want to hear more, you got to check out Wisdom of the Sages, especially tomorrow, because tomorrow a dear friend, a sister of mine is going up. Janavi is going to be sharing, and I'm really looking forward to that episode, so please do check it out. I know that, Raghunath, you got to go. You said 45 minutes, and I don't want to ever hold you back from all the commitments you got, and I really appreciate your time. Is there any other things that you want to plug, anything you want to share that people can connect with?
Well, we do this great training in India every January. Cool. Incredible training. It's Supersoul Academy, we call it, and we have a 300-hour teacher training for those who are already yoga teachers. It's different than a regular teacher training. It's like a Bhakti cultural immersion. We study sacred literature, we study music, we study cooking, and we study Ayurveda for yoga teachers, as well as asana, pranayama, etc. And we do that at Radhanath Swami has this incredible eco village, like cutting edge eco village, 3 hours north of Bombay. So we do that every January. It's phenomenal. And we also have, for people who are already in Bhakti and they get it, and this is their path, we have a wisdom training where we, Kostuba and myself and another friend, we teach sacred literature. So these are all happening at a parallel time. And then we have next year we have a Kirtan Academy for 2 weeks. This goes on for just shy under a month, but there's a Kirtan Academy for 2 weeks, and then there's 2 weeks of a Ayurvedic Wellness, where you dive into self principles for Ayurveda and self-care. It's a pretty great program as well.
I'd love to keep in touch about those, because I think that's something that pretty much we've been looking at, to do something at the Eco Village. And if you're there and you're already doing it, we might as well just link up and get all the Londoners that we're going to bring to Eco Village and send them to your thing.
Or come on.
Let's make it happen. I'm down.
Check out supersoulyoga.com and go to teacher trainings. And there's a list of all the trainings we do, supersoulyoga.com. And then in every October, this is almost sold out though, but every October or so I do a pilgrimage to India, which is, truthfully, it's like the funnest thing I do all year.
Right.
Whereas I mean, I like the training, but it's, you know, it's a training. You're studying.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I like it. But pilgrimage is fun because we basically just go to holy places and sing, and I tell stories, and we eat exotic food and
Beautiful.
incredible food, and there's a bunch of great mood of the people, and it's sort of like our adventures through India, and we do that for
Wow.
about just 2 weeks. And
Wow.
this year we're going to Varanasi, Puri, Rishikesh, Haridwar, and Vrindavan. So we're basically every city is a holy city. And if you like Kirtan, you've liked this philosophy, and a lot of the people listening have been with me already. Some people have been back with me like 5 times or 6 times or 4 times, because it's just like such a game changer experience to go to holy places and just sing from the bottom of your heart and like bathe in sacred waters. It's just like, for me, it's changed my life. For my kids, it's changed their life. It's special.
Well, you guys got to check it out, supersoulyoga.com. Please keep in touch with Raghunath. I'll put his handle there in the pinned comments, so please check him out. If you guys want more japa, kirtan, I've also got some stuff going on as well daily, so please do check that out as well. But from my side, honestly, it's just gratitude and love, and I really appreciate your time, because I know it's hard to catch, and I'm desperate for it. So the more we can do these, the more happy I'll be, because I'm learning so much from just the way you present things, the way that you're real about, you know, the world, the way in which we can try and be beneficiaries of it to make it a better place. And so if it means anything.
I don't have so much to say, but there's something about when I get around you, stuff starts coming out of me. So I'm going to have to give you the credit. Usually I'm just like a dull stone.
I don't believe that.
But thank you for bringing out all this stuff.
No, it's my service, man.
Stuff.
It's my
okay,
service.
my friend.
Okay. All the best.
Thank you for letting me serve.
Speak soon. Haribol.